Lord have mercy. Might I suggest that you are no longer obligated to give an account to people who are insecure with who they are because they don't like how they see themselves when they see you. Can I tell you that the reason why the chief priests and the elders are struggling with Jesus is because Jesus is their replacement. I want to summon your senses and invite your intellect to the gospel that has been recorded by Matthew, chapter number 27. Matthew chapter 27, if you will, get your Bibles and let's land there. The Gospel of Matthew chapter 27. And I want to begin reading at verse number 11. Matthew chapter 27, verse number 11. Your Bible should read, and Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said unto him, You say. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, Do you not hear how many things they witness against you? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was willing to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto him, Whom will you that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? And he answered, and he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was sat down on the judgment seat, his wife said unto him, saying, You have nothing to do with that just man, for today in a dream I have suffered many things because of him. And the chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, Which of the two will you that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called the Christ? They all said unto him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water, washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, they delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. I want to tag this text, The Dynamics of False Accusation. The dynamics of false accusation. According to the time of the text in which you and I just read, it is Friday morning, that Good Friday morning. And this is the actual trial, the second trial, but the actual legal trial that Jesus had undergone that led to his crucifixion. The trial happened that Friday morning, and somewhere around noon, he has already been prosecuted. The verdict has been issued, and around noon, he is hanging on a cross between two thieves. And you and I will discover, as we investigate this trial, that the means by which Jesus got to the cross was deplorable and horrendous, illegal and unjust. You and I just read that the record of the trial, as was documented by Matthew, shares with us that Friday morning, he has to stand down before Pilate. He stands before Pilate, and the charge brought up against Jesus is his claim to be God, which the Jews considered to be blasphemy. But they knew that this charge really holds no ground against the Roman government. So they attempted to bring up other charges that would stick against Jesus that were a reproach or some type of adversarial stand against the Roman government. So they brought up other charges that garnered the attention of the Roman government. It was their goal to get the Roman government to collaborate with them in the prosecution of Jesus. So the one thing that's clear, we need to know upon understanding this text, is who is actually prosecuting Jesus. There are several players in this plot. One is the Roman government itself. The other one are the chief priests who represent the religious institution. And then the third culprit are the people who represent the community. But the community, though it appears they had the last word, were not the ones who initiated this trial. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even the government who initiated this trial. I'm sad to report this morning that those who led in the prosecution of Jesus were priests, AKA other preachers, who represented established religion, whom the Bible calls chief priests and elders. They were the leading prosecuting body to come against Jesus because they had to come up with some type of claim against Jesus to stop his progress, to stop his impact in the community. And thus, they found it blasphemy for him to claim to be God and or the Son of God. But you and I already can detect something fishy is going on. Because if it is the case that you have been looking for the Messiah and he shows up, why have you rejected him? And the answer lies in the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that the chief priests and the elders who led the prosecution against Jesus are only doing so because if they allow Jesus to continue to do what he is doing in the community, he is going to put them out of business. Because there is no point of going to the priest when I can go to Jesus. There is no point of going to the middleman when I can go straight to God himself in flesh. And so their real problem with Jesus is that who he is threatens who they are. Their real issue with Jesus is that they cannot stand for Jesus to be who he is because it detracts, Lord have mercy, from their positions and their power and their influence, both in the community and in their religious hallways. Listen to the charge. The charge is he is claiming to be the king of the Jews. He's claiming to be the king of the Jews. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the claim to be the king of the Jews is actually something Jesus was born with. Because in Matthew chapter 2, wise men showed up from the east bearing gifts, looking for he who is born king of the Jews. So this is not some title that he has garnered in the process of his ministry. What you have a problem with in Jesus is something he was born with. Really, they're saying to Jesus, it is a crime for you to be who God made you to be. They can't handle the fact that Jesus is walking in who God made him to be. As far as they are concerned, being king of the Jews is a crime when it only is a pre-existing condition that he had at birth. I can't stop being the king of the Jews because this is who I was born to be. And the fact that you are struggling with who I'm born to be is a problem that sounds quite familiar in our day and age, because I can't help that I was born black, male, and intelligent. And so the fact that I'm standing in what God made me to be is a struggle for people who are intimidated by the fact that I'm only living out what I was born to be. I can't help the fact that my mom and daddy got together and God, in his providence, ordained for me to be who I was born to be. I can't help that being black is being brilliant. I can't help that being who I am and being who God made me to be is a problem for people who are intimidated by my own greatness. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for those who consider it to be a crime for me to be who God made me to be, you got a serious problem, because it's a problem that you cannot solve. I will be who God made me to be, and I am not, watch this, church, here's the lesson. Jesus says, if you consider me being who God made me to be a crime, here's what's even worse. I am going to aggravate your frustration, because if you ask me, am I going to be who God made me to be, I'm going to give you some degree of silence. Because sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, check what Jesus did. They asked Jesus, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus is silent. That's interesting. Wait a minute. Hold on. You're struggling with who I was made to be. And Jesus says, I'm not even going to justify your question with an answer, because I have reached a season in my life. Lord, help your boy right here. I have reached a season in my life where I am no longer going to answer to insecure people who don't know who they are because they're struggling with who I am. Preach, Tolan Morgan. I have reached a season in my life where I will no longer give an account for who I am to people who ain't sure of who they are. Let me preach myself happy. Can I talk to somebody in America and tell you, you have reached a season where you are done apologizing for being smart. You are done apologizing for being a genius. You are done apologizing for being black and proud. You are done apologizing for being everything that God has made you to be. Because if you got to answer to people who are struggling with who God made you to be, the problem ain't yours, it's theirs. Lord have mercy. Might I suggest that you are no longer obligated to give an account to people who are insecure with who they are because they don't like how they see themselves when they see you. Can I tell you that the reason why the chief priests and the elders are struggling with Jesus is because Jesus is their replacement. Jesus is their removal, because once somebody comes into contact with Jesus, there is no need for the system that they had set up. They believe that Jesus is going to put them out of business, because when you get to Jesus, miracles happen. When you get to Jesus, folk get saved. When you get to Jesus, you actually get into God. And so they are intimidated that he is making a difference without their input. You got to watch people who always feel like they don't like you because of who you are. I need to upset somebody and tell you, there are certain people who just don't like you because of who you are. It's not what you do. It's not how big your name is. They don't like how they see themselves when they see you. And God sent me in this church today to tell you that you no longer have to give an answer to intimidated, insecure people who don't like how they see themselves when they see you. All you got to do is be who God called you to be. Check out what Jesus said. When I was born, I was the king of the Jews. When I die, I'm gonna be the king of the Jews. If I come to your house and heal your mother-in-law of a fever, I'm gonna be king of the Jews. If I walk down the street and a woman touched the hem of my garment and she gets made whole from bleeding, I'm still the king of the Jews. And whether you like it or not, whether you can accept it or not, I'm cool with my own identity. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, silence is not a sign of weakness. Silence is a sign that I'm not shaken by your fear of who I am. Preach, Tolan Morgan. What it look like I'm doing? I'm sure of who I am. I'm confident of who I am, and I don't have to give an answer because you're struggling with who you are in relationship to who I am. Here's the question, y'all. Why is Jesus silent at his own trial? He has to be both the defendant and his defendant attorney and the person being accused. And Pilate says, man, you're not gonna say nothing back. Do you hear all these witnesses against you? You're not going to say nothing back? There's another reason why he's silent, y'all. It's not just he's sure of his own identity. Can I tell you the other reason why he's silent? The other reason why Jesus is silent is because last night in the Garden of Gethsemane, prayer got him ready for his next challenge. Oh, Lord have mercy. The reason why he's silent is because he just spent time in prayer. last night in the Garden of Gethsemane, talking to the Father. And here's what he said to the Father: Father, if this cup pass, let it go from me. But if it doesn't, not my will, but your will be done. And the last thing he says to the Father, he says, Father, if you're not going to take this cup away from me, your will be done. Let me upset your theology, church, and tell you that prayer doesn't always change your reality. Prayer preps your spirit for your reality. The reason why Jesus could be silent against his accusers is because prayer had already prepped him, Lord Jesus, for the attack that's coming on your life. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, prayer doesn't get rid of your problem. Prayer gives you the equipment necessary to stand against your attack, to stand against your problem. And sometimes you got to pray to God that, God, if you're not going to take away the problem, equip me for the problem. God, you got to pray that, God, that you don't let me say the wrong thing, because sometimes if I'm in my feelings, I'm going to say the wrong thing. But sometimes the power is in how you stand against the attack. I don't need to be bothered with how you are responding to me, because really the problem is not mine. The problem is yours. Jesus is silent because he's sure of his identity. And he's silent because of his prayer life that had already prepped him for the attack. I don't know who I'm preaching to this morning, but today you need to spend some time in prayer, because there may be an attack coming this week that's going to have to prep you for the attack, though it may not remove the attack. Can I tell you that he is so sure of himself, he has already resolved that even in his attack, he is in God's will. He said, Lord, let your will be done. I know this is uncomfortable. I know you don't like being attacked, but at least I'm in God's will. Let me see if I can help you. Come here. Come here. He didn't say nothing back, because being in God's will minimizes your fight back. Okay, let me see if I can give it another time. When you're in God's will, you don't have to fight people who may be fighting you. When you're in God's will, God knows how to stand for you. God gives you the power to stand against the weapons that have formed against you. You just got to know you're in God's will. Naturally, you would lose it. Naturally, you would be angry. Naturally, you would do something you regret when you're not sure you're in God's will. But when you're sure you're in God's will, you don't have to fight. God will fight your battles for you. God will stand with you. God will go before you and make easy and successful your way. He doesn't have to say a word, because he knows he's in God's will. He doesn't have to say a word because he is not the one that's unsure of his identity. The people attacking him are insecure with his security in his own identity. And ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't say a word. He gives them silence. So when he gives them silence, church, they try another strategy. He gives them silence. They don't know how to handle it. As a matter of fact, verse 14 says, and Pilate marveled greatly. And Pilate marveled greatly at the silence of Jesus. He is shocked. He's surprised. Hey, man, they raising all kind of stuff against you, and you won't say nothing. He still didn't say nothing. So they try another strategy. Here's the other strategy. The other strategy is, since he won't respond to accusation, let's see how he responds to a simulation. Come here, I'm in the Bible. They go get a notable criminal, a prisoner by the name of Barabbas, who Mark 15:7 says that Barabbas led a revolt against the government and was guilty of murder. So Barabbas is a notable criminal. His record is a matter of public knowledge. He has done things not secretly, but everybody knows. He is a notable criminal. It's no discussion that he hasn't done anything wrong. So what they do is they pair Jesus, who is innocent, with a man who is guilty. Put them together, because they want Jesus to be seen with Barabbas so that he can be seen like Barabbas. Okay, let me try this one more time. They want Jesus to be seen with Barabbas so that he can be viewed like Barabbas, because even in biblical days they understood that association begets assimilation. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you a critical question, and don't contact me about this, because I'm just as upset about this text as you are. So we're all in this thing together. But let me ask you a question. Who are you paired with that reduces your value? Who in your life is your friend, your girl, your boy, your boo, your bae, and instead of them being an added value friendship, they reduce your value to that of a criminal? They make you look bad before you make them look good. Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, this is a season where we got to be careful who we let people pair us up with, because you can be associated in the wrong way just by who you call your friends, just by who you get close to, just by who you associate with. They are trying to reduce Jesus' value by making him be seen like a criminal, by putting him with a criminal. But that ain't the whole story. No, that ain't the whole story. Come here. Here's the rest of the story. They put him with Barabbas because they're trying to assassinate his character. They want his character to be associated with that of a criminal. But that ain't the end goal. No, that's not all they're trying to do. Can I tell you what else they're trying to do? They're trying, after pairing him with Barabbas, they're trying to make the public make a decision about which one of these should be released. They put them together, and then they tell them, which one of these men do you want me to release? It was their custom at this time of the festival that they would pardon or release a prisoner off of good merit. Barabbas is guilty. Jesus is innocent. By the way, there are no witnesses against Jesus. There are no documents about anything he's done wrong in society. This is an innocent man undergoing an unjust legal system on his way to now being prosecuted by people who know he's innocent but still want him dead. Woo! Lord have mercy. I'll try this again. They get him before Barabbas, and they want him to get him for Barabbas so that people can make a choice. Y'all ain't ready for this. I'm about to run myself. Here it is, y'all. They want the people to make a choice. They made a choice, y'all, at the influence of the chief priests and the elders who talk to the people and say, listen, we got to destroy Jesus. Y'all pick Barabbas. Even though he's bad, we know him. We don't know this Jesus fella. He walking around saying he's God, and we're not sure of his motives. We got to destroy him, release Barabbas. Well, in the process of that, God, in his providential genius, decides to visit Pilate's wife in a dream. And she wakes up the next morning and warns her husband, hey man, don't you fool with that just man. Don't you touch him. Don't you come against him. I have suffered many things in a dream tonight that have warned me to not put my hands on that holy man. Pilate is now representing a minority who is wrestling with a moral consciousness against a crowd of people who are immoral and have made the decision by evil influence that we want to hurt an innocent person. Do y'all see this saying? We got one person who represents some kind of moral consciousness, and we got a crowd who represents immoral consciousness. I'm going to give it to you one more again. We got one person who represents a moral consciousness, and we got a crowd of people who represent immoral consciousness. It suggests to us that unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, something is shouting at us in this trial. The trial comes down to which one of y'all are going to stand for justice. Which one of you all are going to take the stand of righteousness, knowing that Jesus has not committed a crime, he is not worthy of prosecution or execution, but the crowd is so evil that they would rather choose to release a guilty man and then kill an innocent man. Pastor Morgan, what are you trying to say? I'm glad you asked, because this is what I've been trying to get to for this whole sermon. Ladies and gentlemen, my nerves is bad, so y'all pray for me. Here's the whole point of the sermon, Kenny. Here it is. Whenever injustice is involved, the public is on trial. Oh, have mercy. It's not the person on the stand that's on trial. Whenever injustice is involved, the public is on trial. And what we find out in this trial is that there is evil in people who would rather have power over righteousness. Preach, Tolan Morgan. There is so much evil in people that they would rather see an innocent person die than to let go of their power. Is that not what we see happening in this world today? That people are so consumed and intoxicated with power that they have abandoned all morality. They have abandoned all righteousness. They have abandoned all justice. And you got to be careful, ladies and gentlemen, when you call yourself putting somebody else on trial. Because sometimes when you put somebody else on trial, you may be the one ended up on trial. It may reveal something about you that we may not ever get over. Come here, ladies and gentlemen. The worst thing you can do in trying to expose somebody's character is give them power. Power is one of the most definitive revelations of a person's character, because when they got power, their character is going to come through in it. Here is the truth, y'all. Look at this. Look at this, y'all. These people are so evil that they would rather kill an innocent man than to let go of their power and be moral human beings. The chief priests and the elders, who's supposed to be the religious institution, they're evil. The government has now agreed with this death. They're evil. The people have now decided, based on public knowledge that Jesus is innocent, that we want Jesus dead and release Barabbas. They're evil. And Pilate, he want a break. Look at him, y'all. He want a break. Look at him. He takes some water and wash his hands. He says, what evil has Jesus done? Pilate, you know that Jesus is innocent, and instead of using your power to do what's right, now you want to be democratic and put the vote in the voice of the people when they are evilly influenced, and now they gonna kill Jesus because they are under evil influence. Now you want to wash your hands to suggest you don't have nothing to do with this killing, this unjust killing of Jesus. Does that sound like those cops the other week who didn't have their knee in George Floyd's neck, but they want to wash their hands? They want to say, yeah, you know, we just joined the force. We just been out here 3 days. It doesn't take days to be moral. You should have taken the job with some sense of morality. But no, you want to wash your hands and try to say it wasn't me. I didn't do it. No, the devil is a lie. Look at this text, y'all. The government is against Jesus. The community is against Jesus. The religious institution is against Jesus. I'm sorry to report, ladies and gentlemen, that when Jesus died, Jesus was subjected to the greatest human evil we have ever seen. When Jesus died, the reason why he died on the cross was around the cross. Because he's dying, y'all, because sin had become so efficacious that people with no consciousness would rather be evil and see innocent people die. They are representing the whole reason why Jesus died. And here is the beautiful contrast of the cross. Y'all ready? Come here. At the cross, God was at his best, while humanity was at its worst. They were demonstrating evil while God was demonstrating love. They were demonstrating wrongness while God was demonstrating the love that even while you're mistreating me, I'm going to love you anyway. Did you hear what he said? When he got to that cross, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The cross is a beautiful contradiction of the love of God and the evil of man, all happening at the same time. That while you are in the depths and the extremity of human evil, I'm going to die for you anyway. His love is demonstrated at its best, while humanity is at its worst. And your question to me is, Pastor, why didn't Jesus stop it? Well, if he would have stopped it, you wouldn't have had a chance to get saved. If he would have stopped it, he wouldn't have shed his blood for the remission of your sins. So he subdued his own power in order to get you and I saved. Let me give it to you another way. On Calvary, God betrayed himself so he could save who betrayed him. I got rewind in my mind. God subdued his own power and authority, yielded himself under the submission of evil so that he could have ultimate victory over evil in the long run. And that's the bad news of the text, y'all, but here's the good news of the text. They said to Pilate, hey, Pilate, you don't want to kill him? That's fine. His blood be on us and our children. And they released Barabbas and put Jesus on the cross. I knew y'all wasn't going to read that text with joy. When you read it, you should have just got happy. They said, his blood be on us and our children. And they released Barabbas and put Jesus on the cross. I'm going to try it one more time because y'all must don't like Jesus no more. Here's what he said. His blood be on us and our children. They released Barabbas and put Jesus on the cross. Ladies and gentlemen, when they said his blood be on us and our children, they were what I called ignorantly accurate. They were wrong without knowing they were right. Because from their perspective, they said his blood be on us so that we would take full responsibility for killing him. But from Jesus' perspective, that's the whole reason why he came in the first place, to put his blood on them and their children. Lord, have mercy today. So what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that while they thought they were killing Jesus, they were advancing Jesus' intentions in the earth. That the very time they said, give us Barabbas and take Jesus, that's the whole reason why God sent Jesus in the first place. Which means, church, that even when God has a plan on your life, he just may use your enemies to get you to the fulfillment of the plan. That when they think they are stopping something, they're actually starting something. All right, you missed it, ladies and gentlemen. That police officer thought he was stopping something. But the truth is, he was starting something. Lord have mercy today. He thought a knee on his neck was stopping something, but he didn't realize that he was starting something. Oftentimes, ladies and gentlemen, when the enemy think he done took you out, he don't even realize that God got a bigger plan that's in process, that while you trying to stop it, God is getting ready to start something. I wasn't at George Floyd's funeral, but if I was, I would have told them that George Floyd was not a sacrifice, he was a seed. Preaching here, Tolan Morgan. He was a seed to start a movement that's going to change the world. You know what he started? He started white people standing with black people, marching all over America. He started people overseas marching for justice and coming against racism. You know what he started? He started a ban on no choking from police and police reform. When you stopping something, you really starting something. Okay, let me see if I can help you. Genesis chapter 21. Genesis chapter 21. Genesis chapter 21. It's a little sister there. She a black little sister too. She fine too. Her name Hagar. She's a little Egyptian sister, and she was Abraham's side chick. And she had a baby. Abraham had a baby at Sarah's permission. The baby started to have a reproach, and Sarah said, "Hold on, that's enough of that. Hey, bud, put your old lady and her son out here. Go on, get them out here. Go on, get them out. Get your old lady, go on, get them out." And so Hagar and Ishmael got put out, and they went into the wilderness of Beersheba. And they ran out of water. They ran out of water. And Hagar says, "Let me go over here by this tree, because I can't stand to see my son die." And while she went to that tree, God spoke to her. God spoke to a little single mother. God spoke to a little single mother and said, "Listen, your son ain't gonna die, because I'm getting ready to make a great nation out of him." You missed it. What you thought was getting ready to stop, what Sarah thought she was stopping, she was really starting something. Okay, Joseph, ladies and gentlemen, his whole story between Genesis chapter 39 through 50 kind of sums up like this. His brothers put him into slavery. They sold him into slavery. When they sold him into slavery, he gets into the Egyptian palace. When he gets into the Egyptian palace, the master's wife accuses him of rape. They throw him in jail. They're only to get to jail, and there he interprets some dreams. When he interprets some dreams, he now gets elevated to being second in command over all of Egypt. Y'all missed it. When you think you stopping something, you really starting something. Okay, you still didn't catch me. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand that when they arrested Samson and they gouged his eyes out and gave him a haircut, they strapped him to the pillars of Dagon's temple, going to make a mockery out of him. But that in his last prayer, he said, "Lord, give me strength one more time to take out the enemy's temple." And the Lord gave him strength. He snatched down those pillars and took out the whole temple of the Philistines. Ladies and gentlemen, when you think you stopping something, you really starting something. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand that in Esther's day, the king was looking for a queen, and Esther was a part of the contest. When Esther was a part of the contest, they didn't think she would get selected because she was a pretty Jewish girl. But by the time she went in to the king, she didn't do it the traditional way. She did it the untraditional way. And God had already put her in office as the queen to stop a genocide that was going to happen later in her term. So that means, y'all, that when she got there, she was put there to stop something, because the Christ had to come through that generation. Because while you trying to stop something, you actually starting something. You do understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the other day when they tried to take Floyd out, they thought they were stopping something, but really they were starting something. You remember Christ, don't you? When he dies on Calvary, they thought they were stopping something, but 3 days later they were starting something. And now there are churches all over the place. There are Christians all over the place. The Christianity is the largest religion on this planet, because just when you think you're stopping something, you are starting something. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Your enemy think they stopping something, when the truth is they're really starting something. That's the dynamics of false accusation. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you may have to go through a lie to get to the purposes of God in your life. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you may have to go through a fight to get to the purposes of God in your life. Sometimes you may have to be disappointed and brokenhearted in order to get to the purposes of God in your life. But the good news is, Just when you think it's over, it's getting ready to start something. I'll find my way out of here by just telling you this, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the transition of transformation because a man died. Lord have mercy today. Lord have mercy today. We are in the transition of transformation because a man died. Okay, since you missed it, let me see if I can help you. George Floyd, ladies and gentlemen, got arrested after being accused of using a counterfeit bill. And that was the cause for his arrest. Jesus got arrested for being accused of being a counterfeit king. George Floyd died a public murdering lynching in the streets of Minneapolis at the knee and authority of the people who were supposed to protect him. Jesus died in a public lynching from the people who were supposed to protect him. I'll try this one more again. Jesus, ladies and gentlemen, George Floyd, when he died calling on his mama. When Jesus was on the cross, the third word he said is, son, behold that mother. He died calling on his mama. When George Floyd died, a movement started. When Jesus died, a movement started. Because when you think you stopping something, you are actually starting something much bigger. And thank God, you and I are participating in a transition of transformation because a man died. It might be a bad process to get there, y'all. But thanks be to God, we're at a place in our walk with God where God got us in transition. I know you can't touch your neighbor, but you can touch somebody in your house and look at them and just tell them, neighbor, we on our way now. We on our way. We're on our way. And what they thought they were stopping, they were actually starting. Listen what they say. They say, hey, his blood be on us. Well, that's the whole reason why I came. I came that my blood would be shed for the remission of your sins. I came that when my Father looks at you, he'll see my blood on your house and on your family and on your life. But how did that all happen? It all happened because they swapped the guilty out for the innocent. Good night, church. May the Lord God bless you real good. But that's how we got saved. Barabbas should have been on that cross, but it was Jesus who got swapped out because he was the innocent one who took the place of the guilty. More, y'all don't know when to shout. I said he was the innocent one who took the place of the guilty. And that's why I'm happy today. I'm happy, church, because we serve a God who knows how to take our place. We're able to give him the glory because he has taken our place. Have I got a witness here? And since he took our place, we ought to be able to give him the glory. The Bible says that when they swapped him out, they swapped out Barabbas for Jesus. Y'all slept on that. Can I help you understand? Yeah. That Barabbas means son of a father. Bar means son. Abba means father. His name means son of a father. But they swapped him out for the son of the father. Have I got a witness here? That means that those of us who were just somebody else's children can now live because he who is the son of the father took the place of the son of a father. Have I got a witness here? And when he took his place, it was the innocent dying in the place of the guilty, so that the guilty can yet live. Now I'm talking to y'all who not too bougie and not too spiritual, that even in your house you can give him glory, because you and I are the guilty party. Have I got a witness here? I said you and I are the guilty party, but we can still praise him, because we should have been the ones that died, but Jesus came in our place, and the dynamics of false accusation was a part of the plan to get him to Calvary. Have I got a witness here? Here's what the Bible says, that God knows how to make the wise come forth and get victory over the foolish, because his thoughts are not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. God knows how to take what's wrong and make it work for our good. So if you don't mind, when you look back in the world, you got to give God praise, that no matter how bad it is, he knows how to take what's wrong and make it work for good. Have I got a witness here? And here's God's word for you. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Tell somebody, neighbor, in video land, in virtual land, on every media platform, it's working for our good. We're in transition on our way to transformation, because God is making it work. And since he's making it work, you ought to make your praise work. I said, since he's making it work, you ought to make your praise work. He knows how to take the negative and put it with the positive, and it still come out positive. He knows how to take the darkness with the light, and it still come out light. He knows how to take a rotten banana and make a smoothie out of it, because the God I serve got all power. Is it anybody here glad he got all power? And since you know he got all power, y'all can't let me holler in this church by myself. I need you on social media to just clap, to holler, to praise, and let the world know you can't shut me up, because the God I serve, he's working it for my good. If he's working it for your good, give him praise, everybody, right where you are. Stop what you're doing and give him praise that is working for your good. That is working for your good. If it's working for your good, you got to lift your voice, you got to lift your praise and tell God thank you, that while you had your knee on my neck, you thought you were killing something, actually starting something. And anybody here thankful that God is pulling you up when people got you down? I need y'all to do me a favor. Post and tell somebody, I'm glad God made me who I am, and I'm going to give him praise for who I am. I'm not going to let nobody rob me of who I am, because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of an almighty God. If you've been made in his image, open your mouth and tell him thank you for making me the way I am. Now let everything that's happy about how he made you give him glory. Give him glory. Give him glory. Everybody give him praise right where you are. Give him praise right where you are. Give him praise right where you are. Because today is the last day that I'm going to apologize about who God made me to be. Because I realize that God called me to start something. God made me to start something. To start something great for him. Start something great in the kingdom. To affect the world for him. And here's what we got to learn, church. We learn it from George Floyd, and we learn it from Jesus. That when purpose is on your life, even if you don't get it done living, you're going to get it done dying. There is nothing that happens in this world that defeats the purposes of God on your life. Man, that's good news. That's good news. That's good news. Thank God his blood is on you. Thank God he substituted himself for us, that we would have life and have it more abundant.